Welcome back. Yet another attempt to heal old wounds, yet another shot at restoring peace after 6 decades of battling. India and Pakistan have opened a trade route across the line of control. This step is considered a giant leap forward. A look at the history of this divided region tells us why. After gaining independence from Britain in 1947, India and Pakistan have fought 2 of their 3 wars over Kashmir in 1947 and 1965. In an attempt to establish durable peace, the 2 feuding countries signed the Shimla Agreement in 1972, which has been the basis of all subsequent bilateral talks. However, it did little to prevent the relationship from deteriorating to the point of armed conflict. The Kargil conflict in 1999 is a testament of that. In 2002, signs of another war loomed large when both countries deployed their troops on the borderline. Now, over this span of time, most transport links between the 2 countries were terminated. A truce in 2003, followed by peace talks in 2004, have slowly improved the Indo-Pakistani ties. Taking one step at a time, it started with restoring the rail and bus links some years ago, and now heralded as an important milestone, another trade route between the 2 nuclear-armed nations is now open in Kashmir. Well, at the latest UN General Assembly session last month, the Pakistani president revealed that he is working with his Indian counterpart to resolve the Kashmir crisis.
As I discussed with the Indian Prime Minister yesterday, whatever is the core issue of Jammu and Kashmir, or cooperate on whether resources of India and Pakistan, we will and we must accommodate each other's concern and interests. We must respect and work with each other to peacefully resolve our problems.
Well, still with us are my guests here in Doha, Farhan Mojahid Chak, in New Delhi, Ashok Ban, and in Charlottesville, Virginia, Michael Crapon. Michael, can I just come to you? The peace process has stopped and started many times in the past 6 decades. One wonders how it's going to progress now. I mean, is there still a valid argument that economics is perhaps one factor that could ease the tensions and perhaps be a solution to the Kashmir issue? Increased trade could perhaps bring about a lasting peace.
Well, I don't know about a lasting peace, but increased trade, I think, can only help. The nature of the problem, at least as I see it, is as follows. The government of India has said maps cannot be redrawn. And indeed, every time maps have been redrawn on the subcontinent, enormous bloodshed and heartache has resulted. I think that's likely to be the case with any new map-making exercise regarding Kashmir. And the government of Pakistan has said that the status quo is unacceptable. I think we need to proceed by accepting both assertions and overlaying on current maps new designs, new cooperative arrangements, new economic arrangements for this region. So trade is central to any movement toward normalization. So it's hugely important that this development not be a trickle, that it becomes a stream of trade, flowing trade, trade that goes across boundaries.
Ashok Ban, in Delhi, isn't that a problem, though, of how India perhaps deals with Pakistan when it comes to Kashmir? Because Pakistan's administrations have changed more often than they have in India.
No, I tend to agree with Michael that trade is the key towards the resolution also. For the reason that in Kashmir, for last 20 years of militancy, turmoil, the entire infrastructure, economic infrastructure is laying shattered. And for reconstructing that, the economics is very essential. And once the economics is good, I think all the nations ultimately depend on, nation's strength depends on the economics. And I think by opening the trade routes, Government of India and particularly Manmohan Singh, the Prime Minister of India, is very clear in his vision for the economic resurgence of the region. He wishes to give a lead role to Kashmir. And in the recent era of globalization, this region, South Asian region, has a potential of becoming a very powerful economic region in this country with economic resurgence. And if Kashmir is given a key role in the resurgence of economic reconstruction in the region, I think Kashmiris will get enriched and Kashmiris will benefit out of it, and both Kashmirs will benefit enormously out of it. I don't say that Kashmir issue can be sidelined by economic, but the aspirations of the Kashmiris
if you allow me,
would be gradually met.
I'm going to bring you in, Farhan, don't worry. I just want to ask you what your reaction was to what Ashok Khan had to say there in Delhi.
Right. Well, the reaction is quite obvious. It's an attempt to bribe the Kashmiri people, and Kashmiris have rejected this. They've rejected it time and time again, and there's an attempt made by the Indian establishment to try to confuse the international community and confuse their own electorate about the Kashmiri sentiment and demand. And then I say, if they're so confident, then allow a plebiscite. Allow a plebiscite in all the regions. And Pakistan, I'm sure, is open to this suggestion. And so then why doesn't India allow a plebiscite to take place in its occupied territories, where, as a matter of fact, Professor Bond fails to mention that 4,600 mass graves have been found, and the European Union passed a resolution declaring it inhumane. So these things are not a figment of anyone's imagination. These things have happened, and these things cannot be turned a blind eye towards. 100,000 Kashmiris have died in the last 15, 20 years. 100,000. So these things are real, and it's not some few miscreants creating trouble. It's the will of the people that is manifesting itself very clearly, that they do not consider themselves Indian, they have never in history been Indians, and they will never be Indians.
OK, well, let me get Ashok Khan in there. How do you respond to that, Mr. Khan?
No, I don't wish to respond to this because the Kashmir societal psyche is basically subnational. It's not either India or Pakistan. It's basically a Kashmiri nationalism and Kashmiri subnationalism. I am a part of that. And we want our entity to be recognized within the larger entity of India and Pakistan.
Well, who is
so
we,
therefore,
sir? Who is we? You speak
India
for we, you do not speak for Kashmiris.
If India has provided us a constitutional guarantee for
India
that,
has provided
we want a similar
it has
guarantee.
Not provided the 100,000 that have died.
You see what is happening in Gilgit
legality.
and Baltistan, because Kashmiris are not very happy in Pakistan also.
That's
Neither
number
the
one, that's
Azad
completely
Kashmiris
inaccurate.
nor Gilgit Baltistanis. And they feel also suffocated there.
Oh, this
it's
is
not the question
completely
of
inaccurate.
repression here or repression there. It's
what we're
the question
of
of
mass graves.
having
Dr.
Chuck, let Mr. Barn
died.
Dr. Chuck, let Mr. Barn have
Kashmir
his
or
say.
in Pakistan. They have died in India.
Dr. Chuck, let Mr. Barn respond to what you were saying before, please.
It is the question of the Kashmiri entity asserting its separate entity within the larger entity of subcontinent. And if Prime Minister Manmohan Singh provides an economic opportunity for enriching, empowering the Kashmiris, I think this is a welcome sign, and this has been widely welcomed by Kashmiris. It would be accepted by a large number of people there.
Finally, I'm going to actually have to bring in Michael Crapon here because we're coming to the end of the programme. Michael, you're hearing both sides of two perhaps very diverse arguments over the future, the progress of Kashmir. I mean, from what you've heard, what do you make of it? How do you think politicians are going to react to this programme when they actually see perhaps the divisions? And these two gentlemen from Delhi and from Doha are Kashmiris.
When I go to Kashmir and talk to the traders and the chambers of commerce and the people who have goods to sell, they don't view trade as bribery. They view it as a good thing. They want it to happen. And it is being impeded by this pressure valve approach by New Delhi. It's impeded by the United Jihad Council, based in Muzaffarabad, that doesn't want to see normalization. We need trade. Kashmiris want trade on both sides of the line of control. It can't be just a trickle. This can be very important, but it has to proceed into a stream of economic betterment for the entire region.
Well, we shall see how it does progress. There, unfortunately, we have to leave it for this edition of Inside Story. I'd like to thank my guests for joining me. They are, of course, Dr. Farhan Mujad Chak from Qatar University, Ashok Barn in Delhi, and Professor Michael Crapon from the Stimson Centre in Charlottesville. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and suggestions for the programme. Do feel free to contact us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. I'm Sahil Rahman. Thanks for your time and your company. Bye-bye.